After 15 years of marriage, my wife fell for her boss, then asked for an open relationship. What happened next changed everything. My wife, Sarah, and I had been together for 15 years. I always thought we had a solid marriage built on trust and love. We shared 2 kids, Lily, 13, and Ethan, 10, and our home was full of laughter, routines, and small joys. Or so I believed. Sarah had been working at a corporate office for almost 3 years. Her supervisor, Mark, is in his early 40s, married, and a father himself. I'd heard his name mentioned casually now and then, but nothing about it ever raised alarms until a couple of weeks ago. She began acting off, distracted, distant, and oddly cheerful at times. She'd stare at her phone, smirking at messages she refused to show me, claiming it was just work stuff. But her nervous energy told a different story. Then one night after the kids went to bed, she said we needed to talk. Her voice trembled as she twisted her wedding ring and avoided my eyes. My heart dropped. For a moment, I thought she was about to tell me she was sick or that someone close to us had died. Instead, she told me she'd been thinking a lot about our marriage and felt like we'd grown apart. Then came the bombshell. She wanted to expand our relationship. I blinked in disbelief. When I asked what she meant, she confessed she had feelings for someone else and thought maybe we could explore other relationships while staying married. It didn't take a genius to know who that someone was. Mark, her boss. The man she couldn't stop mentioning. When I asked directly if it was him, she got defensive, insisting it wasn't about any one person. But she couldn't even meet my gaze. That was all the answer I needed. I told her plainly, if she wanted to be with another man, then we should divorce. I wasn't interested in sharing my wife. She panicked, said she still loved me, and begged me not to end our marriage. Yet every word out of her mouth sounded like justification for betrayal. She tried to convince me that open marriages often made couples happier and stronger. She even cited articles and statistics from her phone. But all I heard was, "I want to cheat and I want your permission." I asked if she'd already slept with him. She swore she hadn't, but the hesitation in her answer spoke volumes. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened, laughing with the kids, cooking breakfast, chatting about school projects as if she hadn't just shattered the foundation of our marriage. That evening, she tried again to bring up the idea. She was smiling, overly affectionate, making my favorite meal, brushing my arm as she spoke. It felt rehearsed, manipulative, like she was trying to soften me up before asking for what she wanted. When the kids left the table, she reopened the topic, showing me proof that other couples made it work. I shut it down. I told her I'd never agree to it, and if she wanted that life, she'd have to do it without me. She burst into tears, called me close-minded, and said she thought I, of all people, would understand since I'd always supported her career ambitions. That's when it hit me. She was trying to justify sleeping with her boss as part of her professional growth. I told her I was leaving for a few days to clear my head. She followed me from room to room while I packed, pleading that I stay and talk. I couldn't. Not after realizing that every word she'd said was carefully calculated to make me agree to something she'd already emotionally committed to. I told the kids I had to travel for work and kissed them goodnight. Then I left for a nearby hotel, my mind spiraling. An hour later, there was a knock at my door. It was Sarah, mascara running, eyes red. She begged me to talk. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She told me she'd made a mistake bringing it up, that she didn't really want an open marriage, but then admitted she couldn't promise her feelings for her boss would just disappear. She proposed some ridiculous compromise. She'd have an emotional relationship with him but remain physically loyal to me. I laughed bitterly. I told her she was already cheating emotionally and that asking permission to continue wasn't a compromise, it was insanity. She got angry, saying I was unfair, that I should appreciate her honesty instead of judging her. That moment, I realized how far gone she was, not just emotionally, but morally. She thought being transparent about wanting to cheat somehow made her the good guy. When she refused to stop seeing him outside of work or transfer departments, I knew the truth. She'd already chosen him. That night, as she left my hotel room sobbing, I knew our marriage was over. Thank you to everyone who reached out and offered support. Those first few weeks were brutal. I stayed at the motel for a week, while Sarah kept calling, insisting she wanted to fix our marriage. But every time I mentioned cutting off contact with Mark, she made excuses. She said avoiding him wasn't realistic. They worked too closely, and it might raise suspicion. That's when I realized she wasn't fighting for our marriage. She was fighting to keep her affair alive while keeping her home life intact. Eventually, I moved back home for the kids' sake, though I made it clear we were separated, even under the same roof. We told Lily and Ethan that Mom and Dad were working through things, but I could see the confusion and fear in their eyes. Sarah kept pretending everything was fine. She'd suggest family dinners, movie nights, trips to the park, as if we could just sweep everything under the rug. But I saw it all in her eyes: guilt, regret, and desperation. 3 weeks ago, she came home looking wrecked. During dinner, she barely spoke. When the kids went upstairs, she finally said it: she'd been fired. Apparently, she'd confessed her feelings to Mark again, and he reported her to HR for inappropriate behavior. He told her he was happily married and wanted nothing to do with her outside of work. It hit me like a freight train. She destroyed our 15-year marriage for a fantasy, for a man who never wanted her. Now she was crying, saying she'd made a terrible mistake and that she finally realized what really mattered. But I could see it in her. She wasn't mourning our relationship. She was mourning him. Worse, she started guilt-tripping me. She said I was selfish for not being supportive while she was unemployed, claiming a good husband would help her through it. I told her I wasn't her husband anymore, not in the way that mattered, and that she had no right to expect comfort from the man she tried to betray. She snapped back that my coldness was exactly why she'd sought connection elsewhere. I had to walk out of the room to stop myself from yelling. Now the kids are caught in the middle. Lily asked why I wasn't being kinder to Mom, and Ethan's been asking if we're getting divorced. Sarah told them she lost her job because of office politics. When Lily confronted me, saying Mom was sorry and everyone deserves a second chance, it broke me. She had no idea what she was asking me to forgive. Sarah now talks about marriage therapy and rebuilding trust, but I can't shake the feeling she's only doing it because her fantasy life fell apart. If Mark had accepted her, she would have left me without hesitation. I'm torn. My brother says to file for divorce immediately, that she crossed a line no one can come back from. My sister thinks we should try counseling for the kids' sake. But deep down, I know the truth. I'm not delaying for the children. I'm just struggling to accept that my marriage is truly dead. I can't tell whether she's genuinely remorseful or just regretting that her affair ended before it began. I've been avoiding this post because writing it down makes it real, but I owe it to everyone who's followed my story. After weeks of reflection, I made my decision. I realized I couldn't keep living in limbo, half husband, half stranger, pretending things might one day return to normal. Sarah kept begging for therapy, insisting we could rebuild. But every talk felt rehearsed, like she was trying to convince herself more than me. In the end, I filed for divorce. The house, the kids, and my peace of mind, I chose those. She chose her boss, her fantasy, and the consequences that followed. And while I'll never forget the pain she caused, I'm finally starting to remember who I am without her. The final breaking point came about a month ago when I discovered that Sarah had still been in touch with Mark, even after losing her job. I stumbled upon it completely by accident. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter when a message popped up from a chat app I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped immediately. I knew this couldn't be good. Sarah wouldn't be using a secret app to talk to family or friends. Curiosity and dread got the better of me, and when I checked the messages, I found weeks of conversations between them. I snapped photos of everything on my phone in case I'd need them later during the divorce. Most of the messages were Sarah apologizing for what had happened and begging him to believe her feelings were real. He, on the other hand, kept telling her to stop contacting him, that he wasn't interested. What cut the deepest was realizing that while she was telling me she wanted to rebuild our marriage, she was still chasing after him. That night, I confronted her. She denied everything until I showed her the screenshots. Then she broke down and admitted she had been trying to maintain some kind of connection with him. She said she knew it was wrong, but claimed she couldn't just shut off her emotions. She insisted she only wanted closure, that if she could just talk to him one last time, she could move forward with me. That's when I realized our marriage was done. Even after losing her job and almost losing her family, she was still prioritizing him over us. I told her I was finished and would be filing for divorce. The look on her face told me she never thought I'd actually go through with it. She seemed certain I'd just wait forever while she sorted out her feelings. Last week, I met with a divorce attorney and started the paperwork. Yesterday, I told Sarah in person that it was official. I waited until the kids were at school because I didn't want them to see what was coming. As soon as I said the words, she broke down crying. She begged me to reconsider, promising she'd do anything to fix our marriage, that she'd been foolish and confused, and that she finally realized I was the only man she truly loved. She said Mark didn't matter anymore, that it was just a midlife crisis. and that she wanted to rebuild what we had. What truly broke my heart was when she asked, through tears, what she should tell the kids, how she could explain to Lily and Ethan that their family was falling apart. I told her we'd figure out how to tell them together, but that we wouldn't lie. The truth, at least in part, had to be shared. She pleaded for us to just separate for a while instead of divorcing, but I reminded her we had already been separated for months and nothing had changed. She'd only kept lying. I told her I wanted our children to see what a healthy relationship looks like, not one built on betrayal and deceit. The hardest part was when she asked if there was anything she could do to change my mind. For a moment, I hesitated, because I saw glimpses of the woman I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago under all that guilt and regret. But that woman was gone. I told her that the person I married would never have done what she did. I didn't recognize who she was anymore, and I couldn't trust her with my heart again. She cried even harder, saying people make mistakes and marriage is about forgiveness. But I told her this wasn't a single mistake. It was a chain of conscious decisions that showed where her priorities truly lay. We talked for almost 3 hours, both completely drained by the end. Before leaving, she asked if I thought we might ever reconcile once she'd changed. I told her honestly that I didn't think I could ever trust her again. I wanted to move forward, not keep hoping for something that was already dead. We haven't told the kids yet, she keeps stalling, saying maybe I'll change my mind. But delaying it will only make it harder. Lily and Ethan deserve honesty, even if it hurts. I know the next 6 months will be rough, figuring out custody, navigating co-parenting, and adjusting to a new reality. But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm regaining control over my own life instead of cleaning up Sarah's chaos. My lawyer says the divorce should be straightforward since we agree on most issues, though I know that could change if she decides to fight. I hate that my children will be affected by all this, but I believe they'll be better off seeing their parents happy apart than miserable together. I plan to start therapy to help process everything and to make sure I handle co-parenting the best I can. Never did I imagine being 38, divorced, and starting over. But I'm trying to focus on building a peaceful life for myself and my kids, rather than mourning the one I thought I'd have. It's been over 8 months since my first post, and 6 months since I filed for divorce. I wanted to post one last update to close this chapter and thank everyone who supported me through it. The divorce was finalized last week. It turned out to be tougher than my lawyer expected. Sarah kept changing her mind, agreeing one day and contesting the next. But we finally reached an arrangement that works for everyone. We share custody of Lily and Ethan. They live with me during the week and spend weekends with Sarah. It seems to be working well so far. Telling them about the divorce was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. We decided to be honest, to explain that their mom had feelings for someone else and that we couldn't fix things between us. Lily was angry at first and blamed me for not forgiving her mother, but eventually she understood that some things can't be fixed just by saying sorry. Ethan was mostly confused. He kept asking if there was something he could do to help us fall in love again, and that broke my heart. Both kids are now seeing a counselor who specializes in children of divorce, and they're adjusting better than I expected. Sarah had a tough time emotionally and financially after everything. She often tried to make the kids feel sorry for her, telling them how lonely she was and how much she missed being a family. For a while, Lily asked me daily if we could all be together again. Those were painful conversations. I had to gently explain that while their mother and I both loved them deeply, our marriage was something that couldn't be fixed. I tried to stay honest without turning them against her, a delicate balance I'm still learning. Watching Sarah's downward spiral was difficult. She struggled to find another job, and I think the full weight of losing both Mark and our marriage hit her hard. She reached out to me several times, crying and asking for another chance. I had to remind her again and again that too much had happened. About 3 months ago, she found new work and seems more stable now. She stopped bringing up reconciliation, and co-parenting has gotten much easier. The kids have settled into the new routine. They still miss how things used to be, but they're doing well overall. As for me, I started therapy around 4 months ago, and it's been a game changer. It helped me understand everything, rebuild confidence, and trust my own judgment again. I realized I'd spent so much time doubting myself when, in reality, Sarah's actions spoke for themselves. I'm not dating yet. My focus is on my kids and healing. But I do believe I'll find love again someday with someone who truly values me. Thank you to everyone who followed my story and offered support during the darkest period of my life. For anyone reading this who's going through something similar, it might feel impossible now, but you can survive it, and one day you'll look back and see how strong you really were. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment, hit subscribe, follow for more, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next one.